Hey, this is Oats. You may have seen my past videos on my wet dry wet rig here. But I came across something and attempted something recently that I thought I would let you guys know about, and that is for rehearsal, not yet for performance, but for rehearsal for the Oats band, I have moved this over onto a budget in-ear monitor setup. So I did it all on a very shoestring because I couldn't afford anything. So I wanted to let you know how I did it, and that way if you have any kind of, maybe it's something that you can do with your band, or if you have a garage band or whatever. We have a sunroom band. We have the sunroom band, not a garage band, but same thing, same deal really. Okay, so how I did it was this. All right, first I got myself some inexpensive in-ear monitors. These are by a company called KZ, and these were, $20 basically, between 20 and 30. Can't remember exactly. And in our rehearsal space here in the sunroom, we have a board, and this board was given to me actually, which was really nice. And what I did was I got some mic cables here, and I got some adapters because this board on these outs up here uses 1/4 inch out, so these are 1/4 inch to XLR adapters. All right, so I had to buy those. And what the deal is this board only has 2 monitor sends, these green faders right here, and they come out right here where I have my adapters plugged in, and these are just plugged into regular mic cables. And the thing about in-ear monitors is if you're going to run in stereo like I like to run, then you need 1 send for each ear. So in other words, each person has to have 2 sends, a right and a left ear, right ear. All right, so what I did was for the lead vocal, I'm coming out of the monitor sends left and right into 2 microphone cables. Now we go over to my station here. I had to get some sort of headphone amp. This is a terrific headphone amp. I was very surprised. I got it on Amazon, and I'll put it in the description box. But this headphone amp sounds like $1 million, dude. And it's powered. You have to have power for it. You see I have a little adapter plugged into it. All right, those 2 XLRs right there are the ones coming out from the board, coming into the headphone amp. All right, and this headphone amp sounds hi-fi. It's like gorgeous. All right, so I had to buy the box though because I did not have that, and it was $44 on Amazon. And then I had to buy a headphone extension cable, which was about $10. And then that runs over, as you could probably see, and you plug the in-ears directly into the headphone extension. All right, now that gives 1 mix. In other words, I can have my own mix, and the way that you do it is on your board, you have the sends that I have plugged up left and right. All right, you see how the channels are green, the faders are green? Okay, on the board, on every channel, you can see green knobs. All right, all these green knobs are for one of these channels, and then the other row of green knobs are for the other channel. All right, so on every channel, you have, this says monitor 1 and monitor 2, and you see right here it says monitor 1 and monitor 2. So you can add a little bit or turn up or turn down a little bit of every channel on your entire board in monitor 1 and monitor 2, and that controls my mix. So as the lead singer, I have a separate mix. And you can see right here, I have some of this labeled my vocals, Brian's vocals, Rob's vocals, one guitar, one bass, the kick drum, overheads, and the snare. And then over here I have two more guitar mics. As you can see back there, they're plugged in. And those are, as you recall, I got the wet, dry, wet rig. So I have 3 guitar mics. So I have a left, right, and center on guitar. Okay, so that's how you control that mix. Okay. All right, now that's one mix. That's the lead vocal. The other thing I did was I'm getting set up to have a separate mix for Brian and Rob. Rob is the bass player, Brian is the drummer, and I happen to own this little headphone amp, which is passive, and it clips on your belt, and you can see the little headphone on there. It's for a headphone out right there. And what I did was, back at the board, if you look carefully, you can see this cable down here that's plugged into an XLR. That's an XLR in. All right, it comes up and it splits, and so it goes into 2 1/4-inch male jacks, as you can see. And what I did was plug those into main outs. So my mix is the monitor mix, and Rob's mix is, these are summed into one, so it's mono. The left and right are summed into one, and then it goes out to that little box, the little Behringer box that I showed you, which cost $30, but I already owned it. And the way that this mix is controlled is with the faders. So like whatever Rob wants, if he wants more, if he wants more bass, we can turn that up. If he wants more guitar, you just bring that up. And this does not affect my mix on the monitor sends right here. Okay, so that mix is in mono, but Rob doesn't care. And which I will eventually, we're going to move up to a setup where each of us can have our own stereo mix. And I cannot recommend in-ears enough. I use them on the road for years and years with the weighting, and there's nothing like it for singing because you can just hear yourself so much better. Now we have these monitors down here, you see them on the floor. I use those in conjunction with the in-ears just because it's a little more bass. In-ears tend to be not exactly bass heavy, just because I guess such small speakers in your ears. And so these just kind of augment the bass. But the great thing about in-ears that people don't know if you've never used them, the greatest thing is that they're like earplugs. So you can see on the end has that silicone tip, and you can get foam tips for them, and they block out a ton of sound. So I'm standing here at my mic, and I am right next to these drums, and Brian will have cymbals set up like right by my head, all right? So if I'm not wearing in-ears, then I hear a ton of drums, and I crank up these monitors so I can hear my vocal. Not ideal, and the drums are like less than 3 feet from me, so clearly not ideal, okay? And then on top of that, on the other side, like here's my rig, wet, dry, wet, as you guys recall, and we got the bass amp rig right next to it, and bass frequencies tend to permeate. And so it's not an ideal setup. So with the in-ear situation though, they act as earplugs, and then you have your perfect mix coming through them at the same time. So outside noise gets rejected largely. I mean, it's probably like between a 20 and 30 dB earplug, which is like the kind of earplug, I mean, you could safely fire off a gun and it wouldn't hurt your ears with that kind of dB rejection. So highly, highly, highly recommended. And since I did it for the cost of this box and this cable right here, which total of like $55, and then I already had this box. And what we do from here is this. You see the little headphone on there? That's where Rob plugs in his in-ears. Yeah, I gave him a cheap pair of in-ears. And what we're going to do, we haven't done it yet, is we're going to split off of this and get one more headphone extension cable and bring it over here for Brian. And Brian has in-ears too. So Rob and Brian will be on one mix and I will be on another mix. Their mix is in mono. My mix is in stereo. If I had another one of these boxes right here, which I will probably get one at some point, then their mix could be at stereo too, but they are on the same mix. They are not on a separate mix. They have a separate mix from the lead vocal, but each one of them, Brian is listening to the mix, the background vocal mix, let's call it background vocal, because that's how we did it. We did one mix for lead vocal for me, and one mix for background vocals for these guys, all right, because they sing background vocals. And our band is it's very important to have in-ears or to be able to hear the vocals, because we do a lot of three-part harmony. So it's like trying to harmonize and not being able to hear it is like next to impossible. So it was kind of important that we hear. So now, even though with our present situation, we only have one lead vocal mix in stereo and one background vocal mix in mono, that they are going to share that same mix. But for rehearsal, this gets us by. And Rob and them, they don't care about stereo, and I really like stereo, so that's why we went that route. And so at any rate, that's what we did, and we're all set up for rehearsal now. And the other good thing about in-ears, I keep changing subjects, sorry about that, but the other good thing about in-ears is that you can turn down. So in other words, I got this box, right? And you see the balance and the volume knobs. Okay, so I got these essentially earplugs in my ears, and there's all these loud noises happening in this room, and this room is totally glass, as you can see, so it's very reflective. But I like practicing in here because I can like see the neighborhood, you know. These act as earplugs, and then your perfect mix is coming through there, and you can turn down. Like, you literally don't have to have it very loud, and still you hear extremely clearly. So like, I continually turn down because I'm being careful of my hearing. As we get older, you might detect a little ringing in your ears and whatnot, and from years and years of abuse and loud rock and roll on stages. So I'm just trying to make sure that I protect my hearing, and in-ears are a really good way to protect your hearing. You would think having little speakers in your ears that it would be harmful, but actually you get less loud noise than you would any other way, because these speakers have to be cranked in this room for me to hear them above the drums, but these monitors, I can run them at just conversation level. So anyway, that's budget in-ears and how to do it for your rehearsal space or you're doing, and well, at least that's how I did it, and I hope this really helps you, and good luck on trying it out, because it can be hard to get used to. With in-ears, it's a little weird at first, but once you get used to it, you will never go back because it's wonderful. Anyway, good luck, and thanks for watching my video, and thanks for following Oats. And yeah, follow us on Facebook, and especially on our YouTube channel. We're trying to, we have to hit a certain subscriber mark to change our URL, and our URL is like a mile long, so I'd really like to get that changed. So anyway, recommend us to your friends, and I'll put a bunch of links in the description box. Thank you so much, and this is Oats signing off.